Welcome in another edition of Green and Growing. Steve Sparky Fifer here with you from 1250 AM thefan.com. Follow me on Twitter at Sparky Radio. Nathan Marzion, he is over there. You can follow him on Twitter at Nathan Marzion. And got some stuff to talk about. Bucks and Lakers on Sunday night. I was disappointed that there was no LeBron James. I probably shouldn't be all that surprised that there was no LeBron James. I did learn that there was a rule apparently put into place to make old guys not have to play during the NBA season, which I did not know until I watched that broadcast. Were you aware of this 35-year-old rule, amount of games played, yada, yada, yada rule that allows LeBron to miss as many games as he wants and not affect the all-star rule prior to watching that game, Nathan?
I wasn't totally aware of it, but I think I kind of remember them mentioning that because it has to do with the awards, right? Like you have to play the 65 games to win the awards. But
No. You have to be over 35 or older. If you're 35 or older and play so many minutes, you can essentially be off to the wayside or whatever the case may be. It's protecting the older NBA players from having to play an obsessive amount of a lot of minutes, I guess, throughout the course of the year is my understanding by it. And they had all this other rigmarole that they said, but either way, it is not surprising that they made sure that LeBron didn't have to play during the NBA season as much as anybody else. I mean, to me, it's disappointing, to be honest with you. I mean, as a fan, you turn on a Lakers game, you want to watch LeBron. That's why you're turning it on. With all due respect to Anthony Davis, not many people are turning it on to watch Anthony Davis. So when there is no LeBron and he, rests his 20 or 30 games, whatever it's going to be during the course of the season, to watch, that is going to be kind of a disappointing thing throughout the year. And as these guys all get older, once they hit that 35 number, if they're still playing or wanting to still play, they're all going to be benefited by the same rule.
Well, what is the actual rule? Is it just for if you can sit those games and you're still eligible to win awards?
I don't know about the awards. They didn't say anything about the awards. It was during the broadcast on ESPN saying how they have a special rule for vets that are 35 or over in the NBA that you don't count as the multiple all-star sitting rule that they have put into play, that he can sit whenever he wants.
It's for the all-star, or it's for that multiple star rule is what you're saying.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. I didn't know what it related to, because I was like, obviously you can sit technically whenever you want, but I didn't know what you were referring
Correct.
to.
So the whole idea of him and Anthony Davis sitting together can happen as much as they want it to, essentially, because he escapes because of the 35-year-old rule.
Yeah, that is definitely disappointing, because it's like, that doesn't make sense to me, because it's like, yeah, if you're still all-star caliber at that age, well, then you should be playing in the games. So like, if you are an older player that really can't hold up and play all those games, well, then you're not going to be an all-star caliber player. So it's not going to matter. But like, if you're good enough to be an all-star, then you would think that means they are able to play those games. Like someone like LeBron, someone like Steph Curry is going to be 35 pretty soon. It's like, those guys are good enough that like, no, they can still play. I don't know.
I don't like it. I think it takes away from it. I mean, I get why it's there, right? Because these guys don't want to play, obviously. And that's part of it. And they want to take as many rest breaks as possible. The one thing, and we're going to get to this game, but I was thinking about this the other day too, Nathan. Can you explain to me how medicine is better today? How athletes are more finely tuned and aware of their bodies more today? How athletes today realize how important sleep is to the body. And there aren't as many of these guys going out and club until God knows what hours in the morning. They're taking naps during the day. They're going to bed early, and it's all about taking care of it. These hyper chambers or whatever else they're called to make sure the body is okay. And yet these guys can't play a full season. Meanwhile, back in the day, they didn't have all of this medicine and all this ways of getting everybody in tip-top shape. They didn't have all the knowledge on sleep and everything else that goes along with it. And yet these guys were able to play full seasons and win championship after championship after championship, like the Bulls did with Jordan. Most of those guys on that roster were on that run of 3 and then on the next run of 3. And were able to do it and play long into each season and figure it out without missing a bunch of games for quote unquote rest. And now in today's NBA, no, it's just too difficult. We can't play all the games, man. It's just, you're asking too much of us. And not to mention the fact these guys are all making a hell of a lot more money than those guys did back in the day. Like, as a fan, it doesn't make any sense to me.
I agree. And I mean, I get it that as the game's gone along, these guys have gotten more valuable and the league has gotten more valuable, and they just want to protect that. And so they're kind of being even more cautious with them, and like we don't want guys getting hurt. We don't want, they want to keep the players happy, all that stuff. But I agree. Again, I remember looking at Jordan's. I just pulled it up, but like Jordan's year by year like games played, and I'm like, it makes me appreciate him even more because it's like he played 82 games, then he got hurt the next year, but he played 82, 82, 81, 82, 82,
Mm-hmm.
80, 78, retired. Then the next full season, he played 82, 82, 82, then was retired for 3 seasons, then came back, and at age 38 with the Wizards played 60, and then age 39 with the Wizards played 82. So it's
And LeBron
39
will
years
never
old.
play 82 ever again in his life. So
Yeah,
that will never happen.
39 years old, 82 games is like pretty nuts. I mean, you look at LeBron, like, and obviously LeBron's longevity is crazy, and yes, all that, but I mean, his last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons, 55, 67, 45, 56, 54.
Yep.
It's not the same.
No, it's definitely not the same. Not even close to being the same. When was the last time he had 82 games?
He's done it once in his career, and it was 2017.
In his entire career, he's done it one time.
Yeah. He's been close. He's been pretty consistently close. I'll just rattle through some of them. 79 to his first season, then 80, 79, 78, 75, 81, 70s. So he's usually in the 70s at least. Like he's not missing 20 games a year, but
he's not playing all of them. Yeah, not playing all of them like
he doesn't play all of them.
Yeah, but we want to have him in the conversation with Michael. Okay. Okay, so let's talk a little bit here about this Bucks and Lakers preseason game. Do you mind if I start?
No, not at all.
I wasn't happy with what I saw. I'll be honest.
What?
I see a lot of people praising, oh, Giannis and Lillard, they look so good. I wasn't impressed. If anything, and I heard that, I think it was Griffin said that he's got to be more aggressive offensively, Lillard, and I completely agree. As I was watching this, I was like, who is running point, Cameron Payne or Damian Lillard? It was just give up the ball, give up the ball, give up the ball, give up the ball. I was like, dude, are you going to do something? And then when he finally did do something, he jacked a 3, which, okay, fine. That's his game. I get that's his game. For the most part, he was just way too passive. Like when we get into the season, that's got to stop. And I understand it's your first preseason game. You're trying to get your legs, whatever the case may be, trying to figure it all out in game situation. And they've been practicing together for a week or a week and a half, whatever it's been. And Lillard said they've had a lot of time on the floor together, so they're already kind of starting to know each other. They blitzed the hell out of him early in that game to try and make sure he couldn't get going offensively. That was all part of it. Giannis talking about the fact that I've never been so open. I've never seen anybody ever get blitzed that early in the game. And it was a preseason game on top of that, which is equally more surprising, I guess you could say, at the end of the day. But as we go here and we get going in preseason and we get going in regular season, I'm hoping, I hope I'm not disappointed that Lillard's going to take 20 shots a game, right? I mean, I'm hoping that's where this is. I'm hoping we're not taking 10 to 12 shots a game. I'm going to have like 10 or 11 assists, and his assist numbers are going to jump from 7 to 10, and his shots per game are going to go down. Like I'm just a little concerned, but it's only the first preseason game. I'm not going to overreact. I just wasn't as excited by what I saw as apparently everybody else was. Nathan Marzion, go ahead.
Well, I definitely agree that he was, too passive, and I wanted to see him shoot more. But like you said, it's the first preseason game. I wasn't surprised to see him. They're not gonna be going completely all out. Like I don't think he's gonna be jacking up a ton of shots. I think part of it is he's on a new team. You want to just get the other guys involved a little bit. But I mean, for sure, I wanted to see him shoot more. But I still think what I was looking more at, because I know Dame's not going to be passive in the regular season. I'm not worried at all about that. I'm not worried about, one of the best scorers in the league all of a sudden is just not willing to shoot open shots. That's not going to happen. Now, will there be games where he probably shoots low 10s shots because Giannis is going off and all of a sudden it's okay, just feed Giannis, and maybe Khris is going off, feed Khris? Yes, and that's completely fine. If that's what is winning them games, you never want to see them losing and he's shooting that many shots. But there's going to be games where he does that. There's going to be probably more games where Giannis only has like 18 to 20 points, doesn't shoot as much, but it's like, okay, well, Dame had, 35, 40, so it makes up for it. So there's going to be times where I think he is a little bit more passive when he needs to be, and that's okay. But yeah, this game, I think it was just because it's the first preseason game. I'm not at all worried about that continuing. What I liked was that the times they ran the pick and roll, it got open looks all the time. The attention that he generated, you could clearly see, was getting other guys open looks. They weren't able to capitalize on them, but early on in that game, but they were getting those open looks, and you just kind of imagine Khris in those spots, and getting those type of looks. It just is very exciting. So, and then Giannis had, a really good game, 16 points, 8 rebounds, 7 of 10 on just 15 minutes. So I thought overall they looked good. I wasn't like, oh my God, Dame is incredible out here, but I just thought, okay, like you can see how this is going to work. You can see how these guys mesh together. And he had 4 steals too, which was cool. So I'm happy with what I saw.
And I said that before when we were talking about Lillard's defense, which is, hey man, I'm fine. If they just tell him, look, we know you're not Holiday, you know you're not Holiday, you've said as much. We just want you to gamble more on defense. We want you to go for the steals more. If it ends up being more fouls, so be it. But we think your steal and you could lead the league in steals maybe by the end of the year if you just gamble a little bit more on that side of the floor. I'm fine with it. He's quick enough to be able to maybe lead the league in steals. And if that's what it's going to be, great. Because once this team gets out and runs, I mean, you can see that one pass he made to Giannis hit him in stride going to the other end. He's going to be able to do that. He's going to be able to throw the alley-oop to Brook if they're out on the run there. Middleton. I mean, you're going to literally have Lillard in the middle with Giannis and Middleton on the wings as they're running to the hoop. Good luck. Have fun. Enjoy that. And then if Beasley is trailing, you're going to have him right behind probably for an open three or Brook Lopez for an open three. As well. And it is looking, by the way, like Malik Beasley is starting, right? Are we finally on board here that this is a foregone conclusion, that this probably wasn't really ever a competition for this spot, that they have decided it's Malik Beasley's job?
I think it was a competition, but I think he's definitely ahead right now. And that would definitely be who I would predict is starting on opening night. And rightfully so, I think. I mean, he's as a shooter, we know what he is. He's gonna shoot a lot of threes. He's gonna be, right around 35-40%. He'll have some good and bad games. He's kind of he'll get hot, but he's also gonna have some. He was cold. He was cold for a while in this game, but then kind of got going a little bit in the second half. But what he's shown defensively, I think, is good enough that I'm like, okay, like I'm comfortable with him starting. I think he's looked good defensively. I don't think he's ever gonna be some total lockdown defender, but for him to be able to like provide pretty good defense, that's something that is valuable. Like that's something that, you aren't sure you can get from Pat or Marzion or any of those other guys that, you're possibly starting there. I think Jay's looked pretty good defensively too. Like I think a little bit better than last year, a little bit quicker, and it seems like he's moving a little bit better. So at some point he definitely could be in that starting mix. And, again, maybe there's a point where they feel like they need more scoring pop off the bench. And so then they'll kind of make that type of switch where you put Crowder in or you put Crowder in the starting lineup, maybe Pat in the starting lineup, and then you've got Beasley coming off of the bench instead of one of those guys. So yeah, there's different ways they could go with it, but I'm pretty happy with what I've seen so far.
Interesting hearing John Horst talk during his interview during the broadcast, talking about Beasley, talking about wanting to help him reset his career, reset his value. So obviously there was a long conversation, I would assume, between Malik Beasley, John Horst, and Adrian Griffin before he signed that deal of, okay, I'll come, but I want to make sure that I'm going to be used here, that I'm not going to come over here and play 15 minutes off the bench, and that's going to be the extent of it. So you just wonder whether or not this whole idea of starting was broached during that original conversation of maybe he wants to start. And maybe from Adrian Griffin's standpoint, it's like, you can start, but you have to play defense. If you don't give me what you have to the best of your ability on the defensive side of the ball, then I'm going to replace you in that starting lineup. It feels like this was kind of a handshake deal of, okay, we're going to give you the first crack at this. And if you play well defensively, then you can stay, get the minutes that you want. And because a part of it is going to be not only what he averages during the course of the season as far as what his next contract's going to look, but it's also going to be minutes played. It's going to be how he played on defense from that perspective. There's going to be all of that goes into this next summer, because odds are if he has a good year, he's not back here next year. So it's going to be a 1-year deal. So you're trying to put him in a position to best succeed while also putting your team in a position to best succeed at the same time, Nathan.
Yeah. I mean, he's definitely motivated to have a very good year. He's definitely, we got him for a minimum, which is pretty crazy value when you look at it and you're like, they got him for a quarter of what they were paying Grayson, and he's better than Grayson Allen. I mean, he's going to be a better defender. He's probably equally as good as a shooter. So it's definitely like a very good value signing from the Bucks, and we liked it right away. I think we were doing this live. I think it happened live
when it broke.
When that news broke, and we both liked it a lot because we both knew, he can give you a pop. We were thinking off the bench, and now it's like, okay, like he's showing enough to possibly even be a starter for a minimum deal is a very good value. So credit to Horst for that. Just, I mean, we don't, obviously the whole season's still yet to come. Like it has to be proven to be a good move, but it's looking good so far. And yeah, like I said, I've enjoyed what I've seen. I also want to shout out Cameron Payne. I feel like he's been exactly what we've wanted in a backup point guard
Agreed.
for through these first couple games. Like he's able to score it a little bit, but he's just, I mean, he had 7 assists against the Lakers, and he can, like we've already talked about it, but he can handle the ball, he can run the pick and roll, he can make entry passes, like just something that they haven't even had from their starting point guard in basically all of Giannis's tenure as a superstar here, and now they're getting it out of their backup too, which I think is so big. So very happy with him as well. Another very good value signing. It's looking like with him.
A little positivity from Marzion Beauchamp early on in that game as well. After I pretty much said there's no chance he's going to be a playoff guy. I still don't think there's a chance he's a playoff guy, but he showed you some positives during that game, Nathan.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't play more or do more after that. He only played 15 minutes, but it was, I think, all in like the first quarter or first quarter and a half that he had his 8 points. He had a 3. He was 3 of 5 from the field, but yeah, like he looked a little bit. His confidence seems like it kind of wavers game by game. Like there's games where he just doesn't even want to shoot. Doesn't, like, he's not confident at all. He looks like he's having a hard time to even dribble. But then he has, a quarter like that where he comes out and it's like he's looking for his shot. He's getting to the paint. He hits a 3. You're just kind of like, okay, he looks like a totally different player.
That pull up from 15 was real sweet. Doris Burke was raving about his pull up from 15. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, I just want to see him be that confident more consistently. Obviously the production's not going to be consistent. He's a second-year player. You're not going to expect him to be great every night, but I just want to see the confidence kind of stay there, because it seems like he'll have a game like that and everyone gets excited. And same thing was with the summer league, where he'll have a really good game and then the next game he's like 0 for 2 from the field, didn't really want to shoot at all, and you're just like, okay, he just looks all of a sudden like a totally different player. So yeah, we'll see.
Tish on YouTube comments, Campaign is definitely a nice pickup. Another guy that has to have a good season. When we talk about good season, Marzion, what is a good season for Campaign right now? If I said, okay, these are Campaign's numbers for the regular season, what type of numbers would you want out of a guy that's playing behind Damian Lillard that I would assume is going to play at least 31, 32 minutes a night?
35 to 40% from 3. And 4 to 5 assists per game, not too many turnovers. That's pretty much all you need.
You're not really looking at points or anything like that.
Not really, because I don't need a ton. I personally, like, if he's only averaging 7 points a game, like, I'm not going to be like, oh, he was a bad for us. No, he could be an awesome backup point guard and just average 6 or 7 points a game. I think he'll average slightly more than that, but I'm perfectly fine as long as he's getting some assists, running the offense well, not too many turnovers, and is able to hit some shots pretty consistently. Like that's about all I want.
Well, we do our next Green and Growing podcast on Thursday. By the way, download the Green and Growing podcast on your Odyssey app, or if you download your favorite podcast. We record Monday and Thursday nights. They're available on Tuesday and Friday mornings. When we record the next one on Thursday night, I want to talk about minutes played during the course of the regular season, what we would like to see minutes played for Giannis and for Lillard, as far as Middleton, what we want to see them average minutes played, because this dude here, Adrian Griffin, is coming from all kinds of coaches that play heavy minutes in the regular season for their guys, Skiles and Thibodeau, and these dudes, that's what they are. I think Nick Nurse too played those guys heavy minutes too. I have to go back and look.
Nick Nurse played him a ton.
Right. So, I mean, that's what he's coming from. It's not the Bud way of, oh, we're just going to rest him and play him 31 minutes or something. So I want to get into that conversation again coming up on Thursday night. I want to talk about Giannis's attitude towards Damian Lillard so far. And the question is, do you like his attitude towards Lillard so far? And you're probably thinking, what the hell is your problem? He's been nothing but nice to the man. What is your issue now? I'll tell you what my issue is. And it's really not an issue as much of it's a concern, maybe. Lillard came out, it said something along the lines of, eventually, he's going to make Giannis mad at him or something like that. And then, we'll see how that all plays itself out and get over the hump. And I saw people on social media saying, well, that's how you really bond a team, is when you have that first, disagreement between star players and yada, yada, yada. And they went to Giannis, and Giannis said, I'll never be mad at Dame Lillard. I'll never be mad at him. There's nothing. Why would I ever be mad at Dame Lillard for? Do you think the uh, respect level, the adoration for Lillard is maybe over the top for Giannis, who himself is what? What's Giannis? Top 5 player in the league? Top 3 player in the league? Right?
Come on,
Somewhere in that area,
come on.
right?
He's top.
So,
He's top two for sure. Maybe one.
okay, fine. So top 2, fine. Top 2, top 1, whatever you want to say. And this dude here, Lillard, is not that anymore. But still a hell of a good player, right? Top 75 player, still a great player. I just kind of feel like as I'm watching these conversations, Lillard is talking about, possibly pissing him off and doing something. And really, he's respecting Giannis or whatever else, but kind of looking at it, I feel like, as an equal almost. And Giannis, when you read his quotes and see what he says, it's almost like he's adoring a star, like, oh, he can do no wrong. He's named Lillard. It's it's two totally different perspectives of how they're both kind of talking about each other. Is that bad? Is that good? I don't know, but it's just something that I've kind of picked up on here in the last couple of weeks because God knows Damian Lillard is talking to like 6 people, 7 people a day. It feels like there's a Dame Lillard story every day on social media and on the internet that you can find. There was a picture of Lillard with his kids after the game in LA that I saw on Twitter today. Again, I don't really care about that. Why do we need to see that? But either way, what say you, Nathan Marzion, as far as how both of them are talking about each other?
I think you're reading too much into this. I think it's I don't even think Giannis is like dead serious when he says stuff like that. I think it's kind of like a half joking, like, oh, how can I ever be mad at Dame Lillard? Like Giannis obviously respects him. Giannis is just like super hyped to have him there. Giannis, I think, just trust him as like a player and trust that, okay, like I believe that this guy's gonna make the right decisions. I don't think I'm ever gonna really butt heads with him too much. Um and so yeah, I don't think it's anything, those guys are both competitive. Those guys are both gonna want to win. If stuff does come up, they're gonna, you know, talk things through. They're gonna have, I don't want to say heated discussions, but they're gonna discuss things. They're gonna have moments in the game where they're like, okay, no, like you got to do this, you got to do that, blah blah blah. I'm not worried about Giannis like not willing to talk. Like I don't think it's any type of big deal.
I could see Middleton having that discussion with Lillard and getting into it with Lillard. I could see that. Brooke will yell at anybody. So I could definitely see Brooke getting all fired up and yelling back at Lillard if something was going on. Giannis, we'll wait and see. And again, I don't want them to fight, to be clear, for the record. I don't want them arguing on the sidelines. I don't want them arguing in practice. I don't want there ever to be a disagreement. I want this to go just nice and smoothly, win a championship. Everybody's like, oh boy, this was just like we thought. That's what I would like. I would like not a roller coaster of emotions all year as everybody on this team is trying to prove that they're right. I don't want that. That is, I don't believe that's good for anybody at this point. All right, third and final question. This is something that Nathan Marzion brought to the table for a topic today. Last topic of the show. What percentage of prime Khris Middleton do you think we will see this year? Nathan Marzion, take it away, my friend.
So I wanted to ask this because I feel like you get a wide variety of answers if you ask Bucks fans this. I think some people are in the camp of, oh, he's going to be his old self. He's going to be Khris Middleton. He's back to full health, blah, blah, blah. And there's some that are the opposite, where it's more like, nah, Khris can't stay healthy. Khris is old. Khris is not the same. He's losing. His defense sucks now, and all that. My personal take on it is somewhere around 90-95%. I mean, you know me, big Khris Middleton guy, have been on the Khris Middleton's going to have a big year train for basically the whole offseason, because you look at what he did at the end of last season. He was off his minutes restriction, averaging like 31 minutes a game the last month of the season, put up 26-6, good efficiency. Then he goes in the playoffs, averages 24-7-6 on good efficiency. And now he has surgery, and now he's back to, according to him, according to everyone that's on the team and everything, has said he's basically back to full health. He's feeling as good as ever. Like, he's back. I don't have any reason to believe, and I don't think anyone has any reason right now to believe that he won't be at least 80% of prime Khris Middleton. Now, the defensive end might fall off a little bit, and that's why I'm leaning more towards like 90. I think that 10% could be okay. He's lost a step defensively, but especially with, again, we talk about the open looks he's going to have and the so much less pressure on him, so much less responsibility on him that I think even if he is only 70% of the player, which I don't think is likely, but even if he was only 70% of the player, I think he can still give you 85, 90% of the production because he will be in better situations than he was before. So I think, I don't know, overall, I think he will be just about like he'll be close to I think his best self, um, at least on the offensive end, and I think defensively he'll be better than last year. But the what we saw last night, the open looks he's gonna get, the space he's gonna have, like the margin for error for him has now increased, and in terms of just like if his skill set, his abilities, like even if he's not quite as good, he still can have almost the same production because of the situations he's going to be in. So I am very excited, and I think if he is close to his full self, he could even put up potentially numbers or like shooting numbers that are better than we've ever seen from him, just because again he's going to have those open looks.
Who plays more games, Middleton or LeBron?
Khris.
That was very hesitant, Khris. I was
They're gonna be
very
close.
hesitant. Very hesitant.
They're probably both gonna be like
so it's like 60. That's
Yeah, 60.
22 games you're missing.
Who cares?
And if he's prime Khris and he's healthy and there's no need to fear Sparky, don't read into it. Da, 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 da. If you're missing 22 games, that means you still got issues going on with your body. That's what that tells me. And I'm sorry, but when we start talking about this type of stuff, that is going to be a concern because when Milton is right, he's huge for this team. Even bigger now because, like you said, there's no pressure. Third piece, he's the best third piece in the league probably because you'll compare him and Bradley Beal, right? That'll be the comparison. And their numbers look identical throughout their career if you go back and look at their numbers. But those two are probably the best third pieces in the NBA going into this season. And you need them to be healthy. And I swear to God, like if I had one, well, I have lots of pieces of advice for everybody, but John Horst, please, can we just stop with he's feeling great. He's outstanding. Da, 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 da. But he's not playing. Oh, yeah, but he just got his first full practice in. He's outstanding. Quit saying he feels great. He feels outstanding. You just say he's ramping up. He'll be ready for the season. Like, that's it done. Quit telling everybody how great he feels. Nobody sees him on the floor. And he just finally did his first full practice. How many weeks into training camp? Again, the whole thing, I don't trust any of it, to be honest with you. I don't trust a single word coming out of anybody's mouth at this point. I want to see it with my own two eyes, and let's see if he can actually stay healthy, through November. If he can get through November and not miss, a significant amount of time, that will be a good starting point. I'll be excited. I don't care what his numbers look like. I don't care what he's averaging. Does not matter. But if we can get through November and he hasn't missed 5 or 6 games already, I will be ecstatic. That's my first goal is let's get through a month and a half and see if we can go through it without missing 5 or 6 games. Because if he's missing 5 or 6 games, that means something's flaring up. That means it's a knee. That means something is going wrong. And that's why we're sitting back down again because something don't feel right. Right?
See, I'm in the opposite camp of I don't care how many games he plays. I want him to look good when he's out there because I trust he feels good. I trust that they're ramping him up. I trust that he might not play a ton earlier in the season because they're saying why would we? So I'm fine if he's missing some games, but when he's out there, he's playing, 30 minutes, whatever.
But Nathan, couldn't you say usually. Why would we play Giannis a ton early on? Why would we play Lillard a ton early on? Couldn't you? Yeah, why would we play Brook Lopez, who's old and has had back issues a ton early on? Couldn't you make the same point for all of them?
Yeah, you could. And I wouldn't have a problem Giannis, you couldn't because I feel like Giannis is in his prime and you're like, okay, like this, Giannis is 28, Khris is 33, so I can understand them 32. I don't even know how old he is. 32.
But didn't Giannis miss 2 playoff games and have stuff going on this offseason? I mean, come
on. No, not really. He missed 2 playoff games, but I feel like those were just kind of like, okay, he had a couple freak injuries. This is like Khris was recovering from something. He just had surgery. So I'm more okay with them giving Khris a little bit more leeway. And if they wanted to rest Brook because they were like, Brook's 36. Again, I forget these guys' age, 35, whatever he is, and has had back stuff. And we just want to take it easy with him. I'd have no problem with that. Now, props to Brook for always being out there and playing, but like that to me isn't like necessary. I'm not sitting here going, oh my God, Khris needs to be playing right now. Like, no, it's October, it's November. Like, it's okay. Now, I'll definitely be a lot more concerned if they're still doing that in March and you're like, okay, like this is playoff time. We're supposed to be ramped up by now and he's still sitting, once every couple weeks, once a week just for rest. It's like, no, I don't want that. But I believe he'll play 65-ish games. I believe he'll put up close to those numbers he was putting up in his best seasons of close to 20 points a game. Then the totals might be down a little bit because, again, they have Dame now, but over 40% from three, 5 assists, five rebounds, or whatever the case is. But I definitely am not as worried about the games played as much as I am. I want him to look good when he's playing.
Okay. Tish on YouTube with some more comments. I honestly think we need one more piece coming off the bench. I'm not confident that Khris will stay healthy. Hopefully Khris is at least 85%. I don't think getting to 90% is even being realistic anymore. And Giannis did have surgery this offseason as well, says Tish on YouTube. So again, that's why I'm saying I'd love to buy into this whole Middleton thing and everything is all hunky-dory and he's fine. But I'm telling you right now, you want to wait till March. I'm not waiting till March. If he's missing games in November and December, and we go to January and he's already missed 10 games, I'm not going to be saying anything other than y'all were full of it when y'all were saying how great a shape he was in and everything is fine and so forth. Because if you're missing that many games that early on, that means something. Now, what that is, we'll find out. I'm guessing it'll be a knee. That means something is still bothering him and he's having to sit. And that is something that they don't really need to deal with at this point. You just gave the man an extension, gave him all this money to keep him with Giannis now for the next couple of years. So we'll see how it goes. I'm not as confident.
I just want to ask, so 90% of Khris Middleton would be basically what I predicted, 18 points a game, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, close to 40% from three.
Yeah, but you're looking at it from a points number standpoint, but that doesn't mean anything if he plays 50 games. Who cares? He missed almost half the season if he plays 50 games.
Who cares?
That's 32 games missed.
Who cares if he's sitting in the regular season? Like, we don't care. Why do we care about that?
Marzion, if he's missing games every month, then more than likely he's not healthy going into the playoffs. If we're talking about 30 or 32 games missed, more than likely going into the playoffs, he will never have really been in a stretch of playing these many consecutive games.
He's not going to miss. I'm not saying he's going to miss 30 games. I think he could miss 20, and that's not that bad. 15, 17, 20 games. If he's playing 65 games, that to me is not like, oh, he's not ready. He only played 65 regular season games.
But we're talking about LeBron, right? So LeBron was what, 57, 59, 58, somewhere in that area when you read off LeBron's numbers earlier?
And I said over. I said
right,
Khris.
Over. Correct. Right. But if we're talking about LeBron numbers, and if he's in the 50s, games played, that means something was bothering him all year, and we've been talking about it all season. Right? You would agree with that? Or do you think it's going to be them simply saying load management and never saying anything more than that?
For LeBron or for Khris?
For Khris. Do you think it'll be load management for Khris? That's why he's not playing tonight? Or do you think they'll actually tell you it's a knee's bothering him, his knee's sore, we're going to give him a night off? Because they were telling you all last year with Giannis's knee that was an issue.
If he sits 30-something games, at that point I'll say, okay, maybe something was wrong. And if it continues all throughout the season. Now, if he's sitting much more at the beginning of the season and then he's playing pretty consistently as the season goes along, then I'll just be different. Like, no, they were just ramping him up, which is, again, that's why to me, I'm like, I'm not worried if he only plays 60, 65 games, assuming those are more at the beginning of the season and they ramp him up. Why would I be concerned about that? Why would I be worried that, he missed 20 games? He can still be 90% of Khris Middleton and miss and play 60, 65 games, in my opinion, because if he's looking like close to Khris Middleton, like that's all I'm concerned about. The 90% to me isn't saying he's going to play 90% of games. It just means when he's on the court, as long as it's most of the time, I'm assuming he's not missing half the season, but as long as he's on the court a good amount and he looks like close to Khris Middleton, then yeah, that to me is 90% of Khris Middleton.
Well, for all of our sakes, I hope you're right, and I hope I'm wrong, and I hope Middleton actually gets back to being Khris Middleton again and can stay on the floor and be healthy and not have issues.
You never answer the question. What percentage do you think?
Well, again, I mean, you're saying when he's on the floor. See,
yeah,
but if I believe, I understand that. What I'm saying is, if I believe he's going to miss that much time, that means I believe that something is still going to be bothering him, and he's going to be fighting something throughout the entire year. If what I'm believing is what I'm saying, so I'll say 70%.
So do you believe? What is your belief? You think he's going to miss 30-ish games, and it's going to be kind of all
25 to 30 games, and we'll be dealing with this every month. Yeah,
and it'll be all.
I don't think we'll have a month where he'll play every game. I don't think we'll have a month where he'll play.
I don't think we'll have a month where Giannis. We
2
won't have a month
games
where
maybe.
Giannis plays every game. It's not realistic to expect. And again, this isn't right, but it's not realistic to expect that from NBA players in 2023. They're not going to play every game in a month. They're
This
not.
is this is beautiful. Listen to yourself. And
They're
again,
not going to
people,
play every game.
I understand that. People pay big money to go watch the Milwaukee Bucks and have season ticket packages. And here is number one Bucks fan going, don't expect to see him every time you go to the game because it's
They're
really
not.
just not
We
going to
we
happen.
hey,
Buy a
we
season ticket
talked
package and you might see Giannis half the time. That'll be great.
we
Have fun. Enjoy
we
yourself.
we talked about this earlier on, and I don't know if we had someone on, we were talking about this or what, but I just remember talking about, you know, how upset would you be about, if you went to a game and players aren't playing, or like blah blah blah, or like, are you upset when
Right.
Giannis is out and stuff? Obviously, I want to see Giannis play every game. Like I tune into a game, I want to see Giannis play, but I understand that their goal is to win a championship. Their goal isn't to win games in October,
But
November,
why
December.
didn't they win the last 2 years? Because of health in the playoffs. Middleton
Yeah.
missed games and then Giannis missed games. And
Well,
they lost both.
but I would say both of those were freak injuries that happened during the playoffs, not stuff that, they carried it into the playoffs. And no,
Giannis had a knee issue all year last year.
but it was Giannis's back that was the reason he missed games. He
I
fell on his
understand.
back because of Kevin Love. That didn't the
Yes.
knee injury wasn't going to prevent him from playing any games. The reason he missed games and the reason their health was bad is because he just had a freak injury where he jumped up and fell down and hurt his back. Same with Khris in 2022, where he just slipped on the floor. Like, I don't think it wasn't like they rested these guys and they still were just had these nagging injuries. No, both of those they missed time because they just had a freak injury. And that can happen at any time. You can play it perfect. You can be amazing at resting guys and having perfect health, and then something can just happen. So I'm not going to say that they played it wrong by doing that in the past. I think they were as healthy as they could have been going into those playoffs, played it about as good as they could have because they gave him rest. They didn't push him too much. And then they just had unfortunate stuff happen. So I'm just saying I understand that they're playing for something bigger than the regular season. I am not worried about number of games played as long as it's 60 plus to me, or right around there, 60 plus. I'm not worried about it because that to me tells me, okay, you played like a good chunk of the season. You didn't miss a month and a half with a big injury. And so it's like that to me is all you can really ask for. And at that point, it's like, okay, like they played most of the season, and that, yeah.
All right. One last one here just to wrap it up. Don't forget, download this on your Odyssey app, the Green and Growing Podcast, as well as download it anywhere you download your favorite podcast at Odyssey Sports YouTube page. You can comment just like Tish has been doing the entire time on the YouTube channel, as well as we're live streaming. Always welcome that. Again, Monday and Thursday nights is when we record, and then it's uploaded on Tuesday and Friday mornings, right when you wake up. I usually don't upload it till later at night before I go to bed. And then it gets uploaded. So when you wake up in the morning, it's right there. I think it publishes at like 3:45 in the morning or something like that on Tuesday and Friday mornings. So give it a listen. Tell your friends, tell your family members, and looking forward to this regular season starting, man. It is going to be fun. Always fun with you, Mr. Nathan Marzion. Thank you so much, my friend.
Yes, sir.